Puff had to use his money. Puff had to use his position in order to get women. Now, I seen him with some bad joints. And I used to look at them like this, like, not on no hating shit, but like, you wouldn't be here if he wasn't puffed. If this nigga had no money, you would not be coming out of his room like that.
So everybody is calling Diddy a dweeb, and apparently this is like has been a well-known, or I guess like secret or hidden whatever in the industry. But how can this apply to our everyday life? The Diddy debauchery of it all also speaks to some of the potential dangers of hypergamous relationships, when you get with someone only because of the money, not because you like them, not because you're interested in them, not because you're attracted to them or anything else, just for the money. I mean, shoot, even Shira 7 says to get with someone for the lifestyle. Y'all gotta listen. Like, when she's saying for the money, yes, she's got with James for the money, but also it's for the way he treated her. You know, you can't just get with somebody for the money and let them disrespect you. There are other things that go along with it. And we're not going to sit here and act like rich men are the only ones who do horrible things. But when you're rich and powerful, you have access, you have money, you have connections, you have power, you have authority, you have that celebrity connect. It's much harder to get away from. My mom always said, like, the most dangerous person is a rich man or a powerful man who doesn't like to hear no. Because sometimes with those type of people, you could end up in a much larger world of pain simply because they have access. So with that being said, I found like 3 quick little clips just because, you know, I also kind of wanted to lighten the mood, because this whole Diddy stuff is like, it's taxing on the spirit, if I'm being honest. I'm not comfortable with being so far down in the trenches, you know, of society. That's not usually where I reside. But unfortunately, it seems like, you know, that is, you know, what's happening right now. So with all that being said, I done ran my mouth. Let's watch a few of these clips and, you know, use Diddy's debauchery as a cautionary tale for us all.
Ladies, please stop dating men for money. Rich man and shit. Listen, you can do that. You can do that, okay? But understand this. All they have to offer is their money. Now, if that's all you want.
And I disagree somewhat, because just because someone is rich, it doesn't mean that they don't have a personality. You know, just because someone is rich, it doesn't mean that, you know, they're empty or void or, you know, whatever, that all they have is their money. What we're saying, though, is that money is a factor, you know, of picking a partner, but it should not be the only situation. Like, you have to have some other connection in order to be happy. Like, how does the person treat you? You know, not just when they're happy with you. How do they treat you across the board? When they're upset, when they're embarrassed, when they're scared, when they're mad, when they're happy, when they're gleeful, when they're content, when they're jealous. You know, how do they treat you in all of those circumstances and situations, right?
Always have that. However, understand this.
However,
when you complain because that's all they got to offer, you have to blame yourself, because you went for that. You wanted solely money and status.
Fair.
That's all you wanted. Most men with money and status are whack. They're lame.
See, this is what me and my mom were kind of going back and forth about the other day. Actually, not the other day, like an hour ago, because I was telling her I was going to make this video. But you can make the argument that most people, and then put some type of negative stereotype that could apply to anyone, and then you would still be accurate. You could say that most people are bad drivers. I would fall into that category. That's why I'm a passenger princess, honey. Anytime somebody's like, do you want to just ride with me? I say yes. When they say, do you want to drive? I say, I have to think about it. And typically the answer is no, if I have to drive. So, you know, you can say most people are ... and you would be accurate. Most people are miserable because of the conditions of society. Like, that's just facts. Most people are not awesome people. You know, but it like you can apply that to different things. Like they might not be awesome at something, but they might be great in another situation. So I just say, like, you can't just put that blanket term on that all rich men, but you can perhaps say most. But we have to remember, you can apply the most thing to anybody. You know, most people, period, you know, seem to be NPCs. Like, let's just keep it real.
They're boring, okay? They don't have anything else to offer but that, okay? When you are really good at one area, you're gonna lack in other areas a lot of times, right? Now, of course, you got your rare of the rare that know how to be both. They know how to hit on multiple cylinders. They know how to make you. They know how to please you. They know how to provide for you. They know how to fix stuff. They know how to make you laugh. They know how to do all of that.
I'm gonna have to block that out.
And let's just be for real. A lot of women want that, dude. Okay.
But that is rare regardless of your socioeconomical status. Like, whether you're living paycheck to paycheck, penny to penny, minute to minute, day to day, or generation to generation. Like, you know, that could apply to anybody. So there's nothing, you know, but at the same time, I get what he's saying. Like, all of these extremes, like when you're at the extremely rich or the extremely poor, the extremes are more extreme. And I'm sure he's saying, like, these people can't turn it off or yada, yada, yada. But again, that could be applied to, like, most people, period.
Dating rich men is scary sometimes. I went on a date with...
And, like, no, it really is scary sometimes, because look at Diddy. Look at Diddy.
A heart surgeon. Wow. It was not my type, but Shira 7 says, like, close your eyes, you know, do what you have to do to get the bag. And we went to, like, this hotel restaurant. At first, it was like, oh, he's not that ugly. Maybe I could,
Yikes.
like, get a couple thousand from him. The more we talked, the more unsafe I felt.
And thank you, Kitty Cereal, for coming and saying that. Like, she felt unsafe. It's never a good thing, like, to be on a date with someone and feel unsafe. Every time, that's also why I'm not really into dating for real. Just because, like, every time I'm with someone that I don't know, and, like, we're alone, I'd be thinking, and, like, especially if he's driving, because I'm a passenger princess, so especially if he's driving and I don't know him, I'm always in the back of my mind, like, what if this dude, like, takes me somewhere we're not supposed to be? Like, what if I have to jump out of this car? You know, what if this thing? What if that thing? What if this thing? What if that thing? So I can only imagine how she felt, like, going to a hotel restaurant, like, you're at the hotel, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can understand feeling unsafe and uncomfortable in that situation for sure.
First, like, it's very nice. He pulled out my chair and it's very gentlemanly. You're so beautiful. You're so gorgeous. But then he started saying, like, red flag kind of stuff. Like, you're trouble. You're gonna get me in trouble. I'm trying.
Girl. Girl.
On a date for the person that's inside. But, you know, like, someone like you're like a 10 out of 10. I'm just like, dude, I'm like overweight, but whatever. Thank you.
Overweight? Overweight where, sis? Overweight where? Overweight? Come on now. At least it doesn't look like she's overweight. Maybe she is, like, from the neck down, but she looks healthy to me. But that's my opinion.
He's overweight too, so he, like, ordered for me. I'm like, okay.
Did he know what she wanted?
There was a lot of food. He ordered way too much food. But he let me keep it, so that was nice. And then immediately, like, he started monologuing about, you know, obviously, I am divorced. Didn't work out with my ex because I'm just so dedicated to my work. I couldn't stay home.
Okay, maybe the previous guy had a point.
All day with her. And obviously, if we're together, then I can't be like...
All right, next story. Next story. But see, there's a pattern here, and typically, you know, those dudes that are old, that are going out with, like, really young women, you have to, and I know that this might not be right, but I always have a thought, like, I feel bad for your daughters. Like, that's always what I think. And I'm not saying Shira's 7 daughters, because her daughters seem like really well adjusted. I'm not trying to call nobody out, but like when I be thinking it, that's the first thing that comes into my mind. Because if you would date somebody that's the same age as your children, then for me, it's a red flag. Like I don't. That's kind of like, all right, like, something's off there.
Dating rich men is cool and all, but it definitely comes at a price. My very wealthy ex told me that it turned him on to make me cry and then try to pull me back in. He also told me that if we had a child together during childbirth, if anything were to happen, he would save the child and not me, because the wife is replaceable. For very wealthy men, they like having control, and saying things like that is trying to control the relationship. They like control over relationships, over money, over finances, over work, over everything, women included. Dating rich men is cool,
Yikes.
but it
Yikes. And once again, not everybody is the same. This doesn't apply to everyone. But at the end of the day, when it comes to your relationship and who you're gonna, pour your and spend time with or whatever, just make sure you're making the decision to do that. Make sure it's coming from your mind, what you want in life, and, and you're making the decision. Because whether it works out or not, life happens, lives, but at least if you are the reason, like if you actually made the conscious decision to do that thing with that person, at least you chose to. But if you're just sticking around and letting somebody talk to you any type of way and disrespect you, know that what you allow increases. All right. And it magnifies and it gets bigger and bigger. So if you allow disrespect from some old geezer, from some dweeb, just because he has money, you got another thing coming. Okay. And when another thing comes, that might mean a fist to the face. Look at Cassie, allegedly, even though we saw it in the video, allegedly. So I'm just saying, like, just be mindful and do what feels right to you. And if you feel unsafe, if you feel uncomfortable, anything like that, don't ignore that feeling. Because I'm going to tell you right now, anytime in my personal life when I have ignored my instincts, I regretted it. Point blank, period. And if I would have listened to that feeling of feeling uncomfortable or that feeling of feeling I shouldn't have done it, I would have had a lot less trauma. I would have had a lot less drama. So the trauma and the trauma and drama, you heard me, you know what it is. But if I would have had a whole lot less of that. So use all of these things. The whole purpose for this particular page is to take lessons out of all of this. Because is this stuff salacious? Is this stuff like crazy? Is this stuff vile and all that type of stuff? Absolutely. And there's pretty much nothing we can do about that. But we can actually impact ourselves and those around us. So the lesson of today, baby, is make sure that you are the one making your own decisions. And if you want to lay down with somebody, you do it because you want to. Period.
He said, I don't know how to talk to women. I don't know how to talk to girls. You understand? I said, you don't have to know how to talk to nobody. You're a millionaire.